Okay, the first thing that you're going to do is download Inkscape. Go to inkscape.org and you can push the download now button, and then it should take you to a page where you can download it for whatever system you have. And once you have that downloaded, you can go ahead and open it up, and it'll bring up like a blank page here. So I'll make that a little bit smaller, and then over here I have the, I'll show you my scanned in picture of my drawing, and you can just click and drag that over to Inkscape. Just push OK, and it will bring up my drawing here. So I want to add this in, but then also add another layer on top of it. So I'll go over here and push add layer, which is this little plus sign here, and then go ahead and put layer 2 above current layer. And then since this is pretty dark, I want to be able to trace over it easily. I'm going to click on layer 1, which is where this is, and then make that about 50%. You can mess around with the little sliding bar here. Sometimes it gets a little glitchy, but you can make it lighter or darker depending on how dark your original drawing is. And then go ahead and position that on the page where you want it. Doesn't matter exactly where it is. I'm only going to be tracing one of the things on the picture. You can push plus on your keyboard to make it bigger, and then I'm going to go ahead and lock the bottom layer so that it's not getting in my way, and click layer 2 to start my drawing. So as you can see, this is a really rough sketch, and that's why I like to bring it into the program so that I can kind of define everything. I like to choose the draw bezier curves and straight lines over here on the left. A bezier curve, what it is a shape made out of a bunch of different nodes. So you're going to make these nodes by just single clicking around the outline of what you drew. And then when you get back to the original one, you can click that and it'll make the shape for you. Now that's obviously not the shape that we want. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more by pressing the plus sign, just so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Double click on that, and then I can drag the curves out to where I want them to be. And you can click off of that and you can see that they still are kind of pointy in some spots. Click on that, and I'm going to click up here on the top left, make selected nodes smooth. So what I did was I clicked and dragged and highlighted all of these nodes, all those points, and I'm going to make them smooth. And I want this one to be smooth also. I didn't select that in the first batch. And then you can just continue to kind of mess around with it until you get the shape that you want. And then once you're happy with the shape, you can click the bezier curves tool again over here and create your next set of lines. Click and drag again, and you've got the next lines. So just continue doing that all around, and the more you do it, the more you'll get the hang of it. If you want to edit the nodes, here's the button that you click, Edit Paths by Nodes. That allows you to click and drag the little nodes around. And I want this one here to be smooth, so I'm going to select. You can either click it by selecting it or click and drag around it. But I want that to go in a little bit more. And then see, here's the handles. So this is the node, and each node has handles. So this is the node here, and then you can see these little lines. Each node has 2 handles that you can also rotate to change the shape. If you click on the line itself, that's what it's changing, are the handles, or you can click the handle itself and change it. So just mess around with that and you'll get the feel for it. Okay, so now I've got the basic outline of my flower and I want to make the circle in the center. There's actually a circle tool over here on the left and you can click and drag. It's going to make it oval unless you push the control button. So press and hold control while you're moving it and it'll make it into a perfect circle, or you can drag down and make it into a more symmetrical oval. So once that's the size you want, let go and then drag it over to where you want it to be. So I think I'm going to put it about there. And then over here you see I've got this circle flower, so I'm going to do the same thing. Click and drag to make a circle. Oops. The undo button is over here on the right. If I want to move a shape around, I use this arrow button, see on the left. And then you can click and drag the corners. If you want it to be symmetrical, again, hold down that control key while you're clicking and dragging those corners. I'm going to put another circle in the middle, holding down on the control to make it symmetrical. And I can see right now that the way I drew this, the outside circle and the inside circle are not lined up correctly. So I'll click the inside circle, hold down the shift key, click the outside circle, and that selects them both. And then I will go to Object, Align, and Distribute, and this is how you get things to be where you want. So up here on the right you can see first selected, last selected. You can center things to the middle of the page or the whole drawing. I'm just going to go first selected, and then I want it to be in the middle. So this is center on the vertical axis and this is center on the horizontal. So since I'm doing it in the middle, I did both of those. If I wanted it to be lined up on the left, I could click that, on the right, but you get the idea. Next, I'm going to make some little stems here, and I want everything to kind of stem from this middle area, so I'll make a line from here to here. And if it's a line, you can just make 2 nodes and then curve it like that. And then my leaf, it's pretty easy. I do a top line, bottom line, and come back down here. If you go too far like I did there, you can push the back button, edit my nodes, and then make the leaf. So every time I want to edit one of those lines, you click this left edit nodes or edit paths by nodes button up here. And then I'll go ahead and do the next leaf, top or bottom, top of the leaf, and then back to the bottom, just one click, edit the nodes, and then spread out those 2 lines that I just made. And then I want to put a line probably down the middle of this, and so I can start here at the top and then come down here to the bottom, and then I can make that line also curved if I want. And then I'm realizing I don't really want this line going up in the middle of the leaf like that. So to put an anchor on here, I can double click. So this line is selected. You can see the nodes on it. I can double click here on the line to kind of anchor it there. And then I can turn this way and put the leaf up that way. So you can see, because the anchor, I have another node right here that's anchoring it down. I'm only going to be editing this portion of my line. And I kind of just do that and play around with it as I go. So now I want to get rid of the lines that are going through here. I'm going to select my edit node button, and I'm going to select this petal here, and I want, since I'm selected on this line, I'm going to put a stopping point right here and right here. And then click this node, holding shift so both of them are selected when you do it. And then up here you can do delete segment between 2 non-endpoint nodes. So let's click that, and that deletes that section there. And then once that's gone, I can just click this one. I moved it so you could see, and then delete it. So then let's do the same thing. We want to get rid of this line here. So I'll click that, make another endpoint by double clicking here. This is already an endpoint. I don't need to separate anything. So I can just click this endpoint here and then come up here to the minus sign and click delete. So now I want to get rid of this line here. Click on the line, make another endpoint where it meets the circle. Click on the node at the end, click the minus sign at the top, and then one last one right here. Double click to make a new one, click the top one, and delete. So now all of those lines are out of that middle circle for us. So then just continue tracing the whole object like that. And the reason that you want to use the Bezier curves is because now I can take this whole thing and I can drag it and make it bigger and smaller, and it's not going to affect the quality of my design or make it pixelated or anything like that. Another way that you could do this if you didn't want to spend that much time, you could outline your design in like a Sharpie marker or black marker and make it really nice and precise. And then you could scan it in and you'd have really nice dark defined lines on here. And then you would select your image and you could go to path and trace bitmap and play around with the settings in there, and it will trace the design that you made. I just don't trust myself to have precise drawings like that. I like to take my rough drawing and put it into the program, and that way I can make a perfect circle, for example, whereas if I were to draw it, it wouldn't look as nice and perfect. Other things that you can do that I always include in all my patterns for like instructions, you can add text. So here's a little text guy over here. So I type in A, you can double click on it, make it bigger or smaller. I'm at a size 12 right now, that's pretty good size. And then I like to take my line, it's the same Bezier curve line that we were doing before. And so I'm going to point from A to here, but what I can do is then come over to here, and I am on the stroke style tab, which is going to be under the fill and stroke here. So there's fill, stroke, paint, so you could change the colors of these lines if you wanted to. And then the stroke style allows you to change the thickness of the lines. I usually try to do 1 pixel. So if you notice that the lines you're drawing are too thick or too small, when you resize it, the lines will get thicker or thinner depending on how big or small you make it. So you want to come back here and just always make that 1 pixel. But you'll need to select your whole drawing before you do that. So go to fill and stroke, stroke style, change this to pixel, and change that to 1 and press enter. So now everything is the same line thickness. And then again, I'm gonna come back to this line, and over here you can change the line style so that you can put an arrow at the end of it. So there's all these different arrows. I'll just choose this little one right here, and all that does is it changes it, the end point, to an arrow. You can also do things like change what the ends of your lines look like. So the part where they have a corner, you can make a rounded corner, you can make a rounded end, different things like that. If you need to go back to the layers tab, you can click layers right here, and then you can, if you want to see what your design looks like without the background, you can go to the layer 1 that had your picture in it and click the little eyeball, and the bottom layer will go away, and then you can see what you've been working on. A lot of my designs have fancy fonts in them that you can embroider, so that for that you would just make like a bigger font, and I don't hand draw most of those. Some of them I have, and that gets pretty complicated, but I just choose winter calligraphy. That's one that I like to use a lot. So you could go ahead and write nice words. You can resize that like that. If you want to, if you have a specific hoop size in mind, you can make a big circle. And then the measurements are up here on the top. They default to millimeters, so you can take this millimeter and change it to centimeters or inches. I like inches. And then you can change the size of your circle. Say I wanted to use a 6-inch hoop, I could change it to a 6x6 circle. And then I would know in relation to my hoop how big my artwork is going to be. If I wanted it bigger, I could select all of it once I'm done tracing everything and make it bigger or smaller. So once you're done tracing everything, you would want to then go back to your layer 1, hide it. And so just say I'm done tracing that. You could add a title on here. You can center everything by using the align and distribute. You can take like this circle if I want it in the middle of this page. You can put page and then make it centered on the page. I need to change this page size because I want it to print on 8.5 by 11 inch piece of paper. So what I'm gonna do is go to File, Document Properties, and it'll bring up this Document Properties window. Again, it defaults to millimeters. I will change that to inches, and then just change this to 8.5 by 11. And that way I know whatever is in this rectangle is going to be what fits on my paper. So once you're completely finished, actually I recommend saving along the way. This program can get kind of glitchy, so save frequently. I'll save to my desktop as flowers for now, and I'm saving it as an Inkscape SVG. So when you're finally finished with everything, you want to keep the SVG file, but also do a file, save as, and you can drop down here and change it to a PDF, because most people aren't going to have a program that can read SVGs. If you're trying to share your pattern with someone, you want to save it as a PDF. So that would save it as a PDF. Just do whatever it wants here for default, push OK, and then you can see on my desktop now I've got the file saved as a PDF. So don't worry about doing that if you don't want to share your patterns. You can just print them off from here. But if you do want to share them, make sure you go ahead and save that as a PDF for people. And anything that you put off the page over here, so like this bloom, say I don't want that, I can just move stuff off the side of the page and it's not going to save on your PDF. So don't worry about that. So hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, there's probably easier ways to do this, but this is just the way that I found that is free. It takes a while, but it works and it comes out with nice results in the end. Eventually, I would like to get like a iPad or something with Procreate, and then I can just draw over my designs. But for now, this is what I'm using and it's working fine for me.